Hi everyone. I wanna thank you personally for being here. Instead of being out there for lunch, I think you can eat, or I don't know if you can eat really. But anyway, thank you again for joining this talk. I'm actually super excited about this one because I'm going to tell you about that about something that happened on a specific time, on a specific date, and that would be February 25th at 4 p.m. That was about 7 hours before my flight took off to Milan. And on that time, that was the moment when I decided to deploy a huge feature that I've been working on our main production cluster in Kubernetes. And a few moments after I triggered that deployment, I got the following Slack message. It said, "Hi May, our feature service is down. The load balancers return errors, and we didn't change anything. Can you help us?" Okay. Oh my God. What have I done? Okay, I don't need to worry because what I can do is I can just delete the new network configuration that I just deployed. No harm done, I think. And so after I deleted that network configuration, the next message that I get on Slack is this beautiful message. "Hi, May. Our critical service.domain.com DNS is sending me to another pod." It's just imagine that you're trying to log into, I don't know, Facebook, and you land in MySpace, okay? I mean, that's wow, getting random addresses as the result. Okay. Huh. What am I supposed to do right now? I don't know. And just as I try to gather my thoughts, I got an invite for a video call, and I log in and I see 30 people in this call, and in many different seniority levels. And then one of the managers just asked, "So, when did this start to happen?" And this brave soul decided to say, "Oh, just after May deployed her change." Yay! The thought that I had at that moment, I'm gonna need to find a new job. So, before I tell you what happened and how this incident ended, did it spiral into a disaster? Did I lose my job? I'm going to tell you all about it. But before I will, let's talk about who am I. So, my name is BEISARON. I'm a senior platform engineer at Forder. I'm a sworn Star Wars fan. If you didn't get to check out my R2D2 heels, now is a good time to do that. Give it a clap. Come on, I deserve it. Thank you. And I am also a party girl. I love to join Diablo 4 parties. So I want to give you a little bit of context about Forder. So Forder is about e-commerce fraud prevention solution. What we do is Forder ensures that good consumers can complete their transactions while fraudsters are being blocked. And now take a look at this huge number. First of all, it's nice to put a big number in presentations, but the other reason for why we look at this number is because we need to provide the results of decisions that are being made in real time every day, and therefore we need to maintain high availability. And so another thing that I want to talk a little bit about before we dive back to that horrible situation I was in, I want to talk about the Forder's compute environment. So our main cloud provider is AWS, and we have VMs running on EC2 instances, and we recently started migrations to EKS. And so what I was set out to do at that moment was to set custom ENI configs for our pods because we needed to increase the amount of available IPs we have for pods. And if I want to put it in simple words, I was about to start poking around the IPs of our pods in our production clusters. Well, that sounds safe. Whoa. So as I started to work on this feature, I started testing things and dive deeper into the whole networking situation that we have at Forder. And so I started the deployment process. And I started with one region that we have, and I started with the dev cluster. And after I deployed to the dev cluster in that region, I deployed to a production cluster. And the reason why I started with this region is because in that specific region, we have less traffic going in and out. And so then I moved to the main region that we have, and I also started with the dev cluster. I went to another cluster where, again, we also have less traffic going in and out. And the only thing that I had left was that main production cluster. Now, why am I telling you all of this? I mean, starting with a region that has less traffic, and starting with dev clusters, that's pretty standard procedure, right? I mean, I'm not telling you anything new, but I want you to feel the level of confidence I had at this moment. It's not that it only worked on my machine. It worked in 4 different clusters in 2 different regions. And I mean, just think about it. Think about how I felt confident to just go ahead and deploy in February 25th at 4 p.m., 7 hours before my flight to Milan, and just trigger that deployment. And I was like, that's gonna be okay. But you all know already what happened next. I got that beautiful message saying that pods, requests to pods are being sent to random IPs. Horrible. So the next thing that I did, I just talked to my friend. She's right here in the audience, but she asked me not to point at her. But I talked to my friend and I asked her, please, please help me. So we started diving deep into the flowing of requests that we have in our clusters. So we take a look inside, and after a while, we realized that what's happening over here is that the target groups are not getting the right IPs of the pods. So the first thing that I said was, okay, let's just manually add pod IPs to the target groups. We can just go one by one and do that thing manually. But my friend, she had a much better idea. She said this. Okay, mate, listen. For services that are still under migrations and experiencing issues, we can just use the powerful migration techniques and save the day. Okay, she didn't say powerful migration techniques, and she didn't exactly say, let's save the day, but what do you guys care? It's just for the story, just flow with me. So for the story, she said, let's save the day. And now, in order for me to tell you about those wonderful migration techniques, I would like to go back a little bit to when we started the migrations to Kubernetes. Now listen. When we started out, we knew that something is going to happen. I mean, let's face it, something always happens. So we just prepared our systems for it. And now I'm going to show you some parts of our migration process. And obviously, these parts are not the only parts that we have in our migration process. We also have documentation. We also have, communication with the teams. We have logging. We have metrics. But those 3 parts that I'm about to talk about right now are the main parts that helped me specifically in this incident. And so the first thing that we did is we wanted to minimize the blast radius that can be caused by the changes that are being made during the migrations to Kubernetes. So we used our infrastructure as code in order to put all of the definitions that we have for the Kubernetes resources. And this means that it was easy for us to track those changes and to see which services are currently under migration. And so the next thing that we did, we used hybrid traffic mode. Now, what we did that for is we wanted to be able to have gradual and safe migration by moving traffic, a little bit at a time. What does it mean exactly? Let's see. So if you remember, a few slides ago, I already showed you the traffic flow that we have in, going in and out from our Kubernetes clusters. So instead of having all of the traffic go directly to the Kubernetes cluster, what we did is we just set the load balancer to distribute traffic between two target groups. This way, we were able to control the amount of traffic going to the new cluster and maybe still being sent to the old servers. And so this thing, just keep it in your mind when you think about that, what I'm about to tell you. So the last thing that we did is we said this. Okay, let's say now we have 100% of the traffic going directly to the Kubernetes cluster, but what if it's like a week later and we're experiencing issues? So we decided to keep all of the previous resources that we have for a bit longer, for a grace period before we do the final cleanup. And so, if I go back to that incident that I've been talking about, what you can see over here that what she suggested basically is that we just reroute the traffic back to those VMs, both from the services that are still under migration and the services that were in their grace period. So the amount of manual work that we needed to do was not that much. And it was a very good idea. Thank you, girl, for that. And so 3.5 hours later, things calmed down and I was able to catch my flight and keep my job. And, you know, because at Forder, we do have a learning culture. I was set out to write the postmortem. And that was the moment where I was able to just think about the incident and dive deeper and try to understand, not being under pressure, what just happened here. And as I did that, I realized what happened. It was an unknown unknown. I hate that term, but it's just true. I didn't know what I didn't know, and that's exactly the thing that happened there. There was some manual configuration that was made, not in our infrastructure as code. Annoying, right? And that was the thing that caused all of this trouble. And so unfortunately, I don't have like a great, wonderful, amazing solution for the unknown unknowns, but I do have a few points that you can take away from this talk that can help you deal with the situation caused by those unknown unknowns. So let's talk about those key takeaways before we wrap things up. So the first thing that helped us was the tooling and preparing for the worst. I mean, we know that something is going to happen, and so having the way to do the rollback and being able to do that even after the migrations have already ended, that actually saved the day because things didn't spiral into a complete disaster. And another thing that helped me, and I didn't think about it at that moment that everything happened, is the fact that I had organizational support out of the box. I mean, remember how I told you that I logged into that call and there were 30 people there from different seniority level? It wasn't in order to call out my name and say, okay, she's the one to blame, burn her, or something less horrible, or fire her, or whatever. It was because those people, they actually wanted to understand what's happening, and then they were able to provide more information to me in real time. And they were also able to communicate with the customers, and I didn't need to ask for all of this to be done. They were just there because it's part of our culture. And that's what I absolutely admire, at Forder. And so another thing that we have is this. When I called my friend, I mean, she helped me because she's my friend and she's awesome. But also because in our team, we have complete team ownership. It means that if someone's developing a new feature or someone is in the midst of a horrible incident, then we are there to help each other and to truly gain context as fast as possible and just get things done, on the best way possible. And so I think another great key takeaway is just if you have good friends in your team, everything's going to be okay. And with that, I will say thank you. I love this guy. I love that so much. Okay, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to come and speak to me later. Okay?